Shabbat Shalom. I want to start with a warning that the topic this week is very difficult, and so please take care of yourselves however you need. Tohu vavohu, chaos, the darkness of the void. There's a narrative arc of Torah: creation, revelation, redemption. First, God creates the world from out of a state of primordial darkness. V'ha'aretz hayta tohu vavohu, v'choshech al panei tahom, v'ruach Elohim merachefet al panei hamayim. The earth was unformed and void, with darkness over the surface of the deep, and a wind from God hovering over the water. Vayomer Elohim yehi or, the yehi or. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Vayar Elohim et ha'or ki tov, ve'avdel Elohim bein ha'or uvein ha'choshech. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. That's how it all begins. God finds chaos and creates order, darkness and creates light, separating them such that one can't touch the other. Then our story progresses towards revelation. God gives us Torah at Sinai. Just last week, we chanted the Ten Commandments together as we read Parshat Yitro. Today in Mishpatim, we get more divine laws aimed at the formation of a just and ethical society, where the guilty are punished midah keneged midah, measure for measure. As we read, ayin tachat ayin, shen tachat shen, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The rabbis say there's a problem with eye for an eye if we understand this law to be meant literally. It might seem just, but what if the person who put out my eye only has one eye to begin with? Then rendering him completely blind isn't so reciprocal after all. Instead, the rabbis dig deeper to unlock what must truly be meant by this verse. In this case, they determine it means financial restitution. But that's what Torah is all about, sinking our teeth into its laws until we build the kind of just society it demands of us. In this way, revelation is our roadmap toward redemption, where our society ends with peace, harmony, an end to suffering. But when we look at our own history, it becomes clearer and clearer that the Jewish narrative arc toward redemption is not a linear one. We do not move seamlessly from creation to revelation to redemption. Not even when the milk and honey of our redemption feels so close we can taste it. Here are the Israelites rejoicing in having received Torah and being within striking distance of the promised land, only for those tablets to come crashing down. In just a couple of weeks in Ki Tisa, we'll read how the tablets are shattered, how that entire generation will not be permitted to enter the land. Redemption was right there in front of them, and in a moment, everything reverts back to primordial darkness. Instead of bracing ourselves for redemption, we're confronted with a dark, broken emptiness and tasked with the work of creation again. God instructs us to pick up the pieces of the shattered tablets, carry them with us in the ark, and start again. These past few weeks, our Israeli brothers and sisters, gasping for air since October 7th, experienced Ruach Elohim, a wind of God, much needed breath, as we witnessed them hold redeemed hostages in their arms once again. The fulfillment of dreams that were in the same breath the realization of our darkest nightmares. Family members emaciated, tortured, and traumatized, but home. Tearful reunions that carried with them a joy inextricable from the grief, rage, and tohu vavohu, void, left by the absence of family members not coming home alive. Part of the barbaric brutality of Hamas, as we all know, is the psychological warfare, the torture of holding out hope that the very worst of our nightmares won't come true, only to learn they have. Kfir Bibas, with his radiant, toothless smile, at just 9 months, was the youngest hostage abducted by terrorists on October 7th. The second youngest was his brother Ariel. These red-headed, Batman pajama-wearing little boys were pure innocence and light. The image of Shiri, their 32-year-old mother doing everything she can to hold them close and protect them from unimaginable evil, is nothing less than a Jewish conception of hell. We now have confirmation that we have her body as well. Along with the rage and generational trauma of a people who experienced the Shoah, we feel the guilt of our own inability to protect them, to live up to the mandate of our Jewish state, where this was never supposed to happen again, to a family that might as well have been our own. Compounding all of this inarticulable agony is the very question, what world do we live in? Without being naive, without misunderestimating the barbaric cruelty of Hamas, many of us clung to the hope that we still lived in a world where Kfir, Ariel, and Shiri would join their father and husband, Yarden, who was returned home to Israel earlier this month. We clung to the hope that Kfir and Ariel would get to meet Batman in the form of an IDF soldier bringing them home. We clung to the hope that they would get the chance to grow up and eat too much bamba and visit the Kotel and float in the Dead Sea and stay out too late with friends and drive their parents crazy. We clung to an idea core to our Jewish souls that when God created the world and separated the light from the darkness, so that that boundary, like this, could never be crossed. Our Torah this week says, tooth for tooth. What could possibly constitute justice for Kfir, who at the time of his abduction didn't have teeth? We hoped and prayed that redemption might be near for them. We hoped and prayed that redemption might be near for Oded Lifshitz, who was taken hostage at 83. One of the founders of Kibbutz Nir Oz, he was a veteran journalist who defended expelled Bedouins from the Sinai Peninsula in 72 and was a longtime activist for Palestinian rights. He drove sick Palestinians to Israeli hospitals for treatment. He tended to his cactus farm and played piano. Like Ariel and Kfir represent pure light, Oded represents a gentler, aspirational, and just vision of what life in Israel could be. In a world where they should have been redeemed, where all our hostages should be redeemed, our tablets have been shattered. We now carry their broken remains with us in another kind of ark, draped with Israeli flags. This only after having endured a cruel, grotesque spectacle carried out by Hamas, running roughshod over not only international law, but laws of basic human decency and respect for the dead. Mishpatim, laws aimed at the formation of a just and ethical society. So we find ourselves in the primordial darkness of Tohu Vavohu. We find ourselves merachefet al panei hamayim, hovering over the face of the water. That word, merachefet, is found in another verse from Deuteronomy, describing the way God hovers over us like an eagle gliding down to its young, spreading its wings and bearing them on its pinions as a form of ultimate protection. Kanesher Ya'ir Kino, Al Gozalav Yerachef. Today, we're suspended in darkness, hovering over the face of the water, hunched over in grief, in rage, in mourning for our young and our old whom we failed to protect. And we'll carry these families with us forever, just as we're instructed to carry the broken tablets with us forever. But there's a narrative arc to Torah and to our Jewish lives. Creation, revelation, redemption. We can never replace what's lost, just like we can't proclaim, "Let there be light," when there is none to be found. But Kfir was light. Ariel was light. Shiri was light. Oded was light. Tohu vavohu, the void, is always part of the Jewish story, but it's never the end. It's the dark emptiness that calls out to us to create a more just, ethical, and safer world for our children. How do we carry their light forward? Yesterday, Rabbi Alex said it this way. She said, we can't just bury their coffins, we have to plant seeds. Anger fuels destruction, we all know this. But anger also fuels creation. Create new rituals. Last night, we always began our Shabbos dinner by blessing our children. Like Kfir, we have a 10-month-old, a daughter. And so we only say the blessing over daughters. Yisimech Elohim Kesara Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May God make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. But last night, Alex started with the blessing over sons. Yisimcha Elohim Ke'Ephraim v'Chimenasha. And I turned to her, and she said, it's for Kfir and Ariel. And I said, how long? And she said, indefinitely. We can plant trees in Israel. We can wear orange. We have orange balloons in the atrium that you saw on the way in. We can establish a Bibas Family Fund right here at B'nai Yeshurun for our youth and family programs. Let there be light, not because we feel that light, but because it's our responsibility to their light. Shabbat Shalom.